I'd like to call to order the Town of Carver Capital Outlay Committee. Today is March 20th, 2023, and the time is 5:13 p.m. Should we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thanks for coming. So tonight we do have Steve Mahoney here from IT. Thanks for coming tonight. Would you guys, Bob and Sue, mind if we start with that before we do the updates since you came? Come on up. Again, thank you so much for coming tonight.
No problem.
Okay, Steve, so what we wanted to do is if we could just get a little bit more explanation of what is in the townwide infrastructure cost for the $273,000. That's right.
I was gonna say, I know the four main categories that it makes up with the broad amounts, but I thought the question was really the old capital item, right?
It is, but
Okay.
did you want to go through the new stuff to see if it's the same as the old capital?
Yeah, I don't know what the old capital item was.
Yeah,
So
no
can
worries.
you just tell us,
Right.
refresh us
Sure.
again of what's the new stuff?
Yeah, for FY24, let me actually just pull this up here because I don't have that list for next year, but I can kind of rattle off some of it off of my memory.
I have it if you want it.
You have a copy of it with you?
273?
Oh yeah, if you do. Otherwise, I want to pull up my email. I brought the printout of the account, but I don't actually have next year's request. Yep, that looks similar. Yep, that's it. Okay, all right. So for FY24, so I'll start with the largest one, which is it's listed as CES Educational Technology. Essentially, that's staff computers for the elementary school staff. That's school computer replacements. The middle high school educational technology for $75,000 is completing the multi-year project. I believe we've been doing this for about 5 years now. It's the projectors in the middle high school. So all of those have been replaced with touchscreen, like interactive whiteboards. So that should wrap that project up.
So is this year 5 of the 5-year project?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
This would finalize that and we would be done with it.
Okay.
So we would be thrilled to have that completed. The other two remaining items here, townwide technology upgrades, $58,000. Actually, what that is this year is town hall computers. So many of the computers in this building are older, and primarily, if you look around, it's monitors as well. So we've wanted to replace the monitors in this building. Most of what's in here is kind of like donated equipment from the school department. So it's just budgeted money to replace that. Maybe moving towards more of like a hybrid system where we have a laptop with a docking station. A lot of staff seem to move around to meetings throughout the day. Some folks work from home occasionally. So replacing some of the older desktops with laptops and like USB-C monitors so they can just move them back and forth a little bit easier.
Does anyone in Town Hall have laptops now?
Yeah, well,
They
They do.
certain department heads, yeah.
Yeah, certain department heads do. This will just be kind of like a refresh of those models and removing most of the old desktops, probably pulling out almost all of the monitors with the exception of the folks who have like a dual screen setup already, which is probably only like 4 people in the building. The last item is just townwide server replacement. That's to replace school and town servers / backup systems, just to update those. I believe those were replaced in 2016, and that was done with grant money last time around. So this is just to update that system, move us to an updated backup system for our offsite backups. And I believe that's it. I think there's one other item on here that it's a little bit confusing the way this is listed. There's not a $ amount on it. It says district-wide student devices. It was offset money, so a couple years ago we had this listed. It would have been Chromebooks. Typically we would have been asking for Chromebooks every year. Over the last couple of years we've been able to use ESSER funds to purchase student devices. So I believe we don't have anything on the capital request until FY26. just because we were able to use ESSER funds to purchase those devices. So that saved us about $160,000 this year.
That's great.
I believe that's it.
Do you guys have any questions for what's on this year's capital list?
I guess I would say, from a 10,000-foot view, would you say, now that you're replacing the laptops, the servers, and everything else,
Yeah.
is there another section of town hall that needs to be replaced next, or do you think we're all within like a 1 to 3 time range of PCs and laptops and servers?
Yeah, I think what we try to do is keep things on a 5-year cycle. And so, especially when we purchase new computers at this point, what we like to do is purchase a 5-year warranty with them, especially with laptops. Because what we find, especially in elementary school, we see a lot of breakage, especially as we get towards year 3, things start to fail. In particular, the batteries, even smash screens and things like that over time too. So we typically purchase a 5-year warranty so that once we buy these devices, they're going to last us for at least 5 years going forward. With regards to the servers, there will always be a cost for some of that on site, but what we're seeing is a move towards more of a cloud data storage. And what we want to have is a resilient infrastructure here. So our team has been working to move a lot of our infrastructure so that it's a hybrid setup. And this is getting like a little bit into the technical side of things, but essentially what we're trying to do is ensure that if the town does ever have some sort of compromise, you hear a lot about schools and towns that get hit with ransomware, that we have a copy of that information stored offsite as well. And we've already started and finished implementing what we call a hybrid Azure Active Directory setup here. So what that all means is that over the next couple of years, the servers that we have on site for Town Hall will start going away. So we'll still have ongoing costs, but we will probably not have as many capital requests for servers and things like that in the future, because most towns and school departments are moving away from having that infrastructure that they own. Hopefully that makes sense. Yeah.
And would you say that the server and updating servers and computers are infrastructure,
Yes.
broadband or Wi-Fi, everything else, that's up to code as well? So it's not like someone has a brand new PC, but they can't get on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, and we're fortunate, like in this building here and the school department as well, all the access points were upgraded over the last couple of years. The elementary school is obviously fairly new. In the middle high school, we've leveraged various sources of money, I believe ESSER, and a few other buckets as well to get that grant funded. So most of our infrastructure in the town is pretty new. And that's actually one thing that we use. The Townwide Technology Fund was established years ago. Back when the elementary school was built, we had to build a municipal fiber line. So essentially those lines connect the town and the school buildings together. And we're able to have data shared between those buildings. It's also used even just between like the fire department and police department for communications, telephones, things like that. And the one downside is, when we were building this, we were told by the vendor, you need to make sure that you have a pot of money every year, because what happens if someone drives into a pole and that comes down, or a tree falls on it? It's on the town to replace that fiber. And he did tell us at the time the average cost was about $20,000 or so to replace that. So this was years ago, back when the elementary school was being built, and that was part of this townwide technology account. And so I know one of the questions that you guys had was, why is there still a balance in this account? It has essentially been used for certain things, like this is just one example. We've carried this over, and this was something that Michael wanted to do years ago. So a small balance has carried over the years, and this has been to cover damages like that. But in addition, it's also used for shared expenses between the school and town IT department. That could be things like copy machines, Cogent expenses, which is the ISP that we use for our fiber internet service here in town. I know that typically these expenses are paid out of the school business department. Sue, Ron, and I met today to kind of discuss those, and he believed there's about $92,000 or so left coming up this year, just off the top of what we could remember. So there's still a lot of bills. It's not like a typical capital request where you're buying a truck and we know right when this funding is approved, we purchase it, and it's all done. Throughout the year, we still get bills that get paid out of this account.
So what was that fund initially set up for?
Years ago, it was set up as just like a town-wide technology upgrades fund. I couldn't tell you. I think it might have been even before my time. But I know that what we were originally using it for was anything the school requested in terms of capital. So computers, touchscreens, things like that. But then it was also used as a fund in case there were damages to the fiber line, things like that. In recent years, it's used for copy machine expenses. And I believe if you look back on the town meeting articles, they appropriated the funding last year for the joint copy machine leases between the town and the school department. And I believe that that is where that funding currently is in townwide technology, right? Yeah.
Is that normal for a copy machine to go into townwide, like a technology account?
I mean, that's really not, that was my question essentially. And that's why we all met today is, is this the correct account for this to be coming out of? Should it be coming out of a capital account, or should we be setting up a different type of funding structure? Because this is something that's been in place for years now, but it doesn't mean that this is the correct way to do it.
How much do we pay for copy machines or?
I think Ron gave us the figure. Yeah, he had Tammy look into this today. It's about $92,000 per year, and this is across the entire town. So that's all the leases and whatnot.
Okay, so that's for leases and anything that breaks.
Yep. So that's the machines themselves. So they're on a 3-year lease. Every 3 years, they come in and replace them with new ones, service calls and things like that.
It's not paper too, is it?
No, they don't come for paper. They used to. It used to be a nice contract called the Big Buy, but the state stopped doing it. Now, all the pricing is state contracted at this point, so.
Okay. Well, I'm just thinking paper wouldn't be capital. That's why I'm wondering if that's
No.
something that.
Nope.
I don't know, would a copier lease qualify as capital too? I thought capital would be something purchased or owned.
It depends. Typically, you've got operating leases and capital leases, and I look at this as more an operating lease. It should be in the direct department expense. It shouldn't be on capital. If it gets classified as a capital lease, then it could then flow onto our debt schedule that says it's a lease payment that we have to make every year, and it's 3-year leases or 5-year leases. But my sense it's more a departmental expense or a shared cost expense.
Yeah, and it would probably have to go above the line if they don't know the split.
That's what we were discussing today.
Yeah.
It's like, obviously not for FY24 because we're at the end of the
Yeah, it
road
wouldn't
year,
be
but
this year.
for the following year to see how we can break it out and have IT have its own department.
I'm trying to find it again on my list. What's the balance right now?
127, 344.11.
Oh, right there.
But you just say that 92 of it's already been accounted for?
Yeah, I think so. We looked at this account. This is printed out today. The current balance is 111,684. And that might be because we have been running a couple different things. At the moment, we have to fund a project for MFA expenses and things like that, Maya requirements for the town and the school department. So a couple of those items are not completed yet. So that's kind of what I was getting at earlier, is that throughout the year, these projects kind of come up. So we had a balance that was printed out today as 111,684. And Ron had let me know that the copy leases was 92,000.
And you haven't spent any copy leases yet?
I'm not certain. Yeah, I don't have the
okay.
full printout here of exactly all the transactions, but typically I don't typically see any of that paperwork. It just typically goes to Tammy in the school business office.
Okay.
So that's why we asked for that readout.
I'm just wondering if you're halfway through the fiscal year at least, so maybe
makes sense.
45 or 50,000 that's already been spent out of this account. Okay, and anything that we've requested this year for capital, could that come out of this account if this account was closed out?
I don't anticipate there'll be a large balance on this account, to be honest with you. We had discussed, Ron and I had met last week to discuss the capital articles again, because he had mentioned that they were looking at these items and, if there was anything on here that could be removed. And his opinion was no. Most of these are pretty large projects. We've gotten quotes on the school computers, the television replacements, Servers has been like an ongoing project. We're trying to get that price. So I don't think we would be able to come in underneath, but I don't anticipate this account will have much of a or any balance
Okay.
at the end of the year.
Sue, I just have a question. So this year, if we were to fund to get, the townwide technology upgrades for those at the 273, would it get a new line item, or do you just add the 273 to the same line item every year?
No, we were talking about changing the line item number.
Okay.
Because the 18 makes it sound like we were carrying money over from 2018, but it's
Yeah.
just actually just been the
And
same
new
account number.
allocations every
Yeah,
year.
so
Yeah.
we would create an IT number for it.
I think it would be cleaner,
Mhm.
so then we'll know that we didn't spend the rest and it
Right.
can be closed out.
And I almost wonder if it should be 4 line items for each of the specific items instead of a
Yeah.
general thing with the amounts.
Yeah, we
kind of-
discussed that too.
Okay.
Yep.
Smart.
Yes.
All of us accountants thinking the same way.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, I think in a,
Questions?
So getting back to, not to hop on this thing, but 111,684 is the current balance in the account.
Yep.
And you say you've, going forward, which is, lease, these copier leases,
Yep.
is this 12 months? Is this to get us to the end of the fiscal year? Is this,
It's a 36-month lease, but it's for the entire town.
so $92,000 covers a 36-month lease. So that's why we don't have, so next year we don't have anything either in capital. I don't know if you've got it in your departmental budgets for any lease payments for any copiers.
I believe that that's going to move to shared expense
Right.
request, right? Yeah, because
So do
we
we
felt
have-
that didn't belong in capital either. And that's something that we've been trying to move away from over time as well. It's just this previous practice that was in place from previous administrations, just requesting items on capital that, we didn't feel belonged there either.
So where's the
Um,
fiscal '24 expense getting paid from?
That's the, yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna have to, it's gonna have to come out of capital, or we reduce the amount that's available for capital.
But
and put
out
it
of
above
capital,
line.
meaning out of the 273 they've requested, or out of their balance of 111?
No, the 273.
So there's no room for copier leases in there, because
Why-
that 273
why
is already
can't it come-
accounted for.
Sorry.
Well, they're gonna carry forward that 111 if there's anything left.
I believe that was listed as, Ron had it off on a different account. I'd have to double check, but I believe that Ron pulled it out of
Okay.
capital and it was put into operating because the school department's been paying all of those leases for years now, I believe.
so
Just all the
it's-
bills go to the school department. It's just easier since they process all the paperwork anyways. So I believe that we pulled it out. I would have to double check with Ron exactly on where that is. But if my memory serves me correctly, it has been pulled out and moved into a shared expense account. But that's something that I believe he told me he might have
Should
said with
probably
you.
double check that.
Right, and
Yeah.
and
Yeah, so
again,
I guess I'm confused why that 111 will be fully expended by the end of the year then? What's that being spent on?
That's FY23 copier
Okay.
leases.
And
Yeah.
then the 90K is FY24.
Yeah, that's essentially every year for the next 3 years, and then once that lease is up, they would just redo the copier lease, either with a new company or whatever it may be at that time.
it's just not clean the way it is, and we'd
No,
like to
it's
clean it
not.
up for next year.
Yeah.
And Ron and I both saw that last year too, but it was already, into the budget season, and where there's other things that we've looked at that, it's not just IT, but other things in there that are like, that doesn't belong there, or this is, it looks like it's getting booked here and booked here, so, and like he said, it's previous administration
Mhm.
that set these things up, and we have to just slowly look at it and make changes.
The only thing I'm thinking, just moving it over to operating, how many copiers are there? I mean, is 80% of them in the schools and just 20% in the town hall? So is it really right to put it above
There's
the
a
line?
lot, but it's actually not that much. So in the elementary school, I believe there's 7, and then at the high school, there's only about 4 or 5. But then if we consider the town hall, there's probably just as many here.
Oh, so it is, okay.
So it's actually a pretty even split. And then it's also the police, fire, EMS. All of those copiers are coming out of there as well.
And so the copier leases are not in the school budget. I just searched for them.
Yeah, I think Ron mentioned that he had some sort of shared account that he had set up with you. It was separate from capital, but I'm not certain on that one.
We have
can
a
double check with them.
town-wide copier account as well, but it's for the toners and paper and things like that, so then we broke,
For the lease.
not for the lease, no.
Okay. So we should double check with him on that. And, you know, honestly, a couple years ago, you know, we didn't previously combine the lease between the school and the town either. And, you know, that might even be something that we want to look at going forward. The pricing is state contract, so it doesn't really save us money to keep everything together. And if it's accounting wise, if it's easier to separate them out, we can certainly do that going forward as well. It's probably going to work out to the same price as it's a state contract at this point.
Okay. So you just mentioned if it's not in the operating budget, you would take from the capital amount?
Mm-hmm.
So we really need to know that before voting, right? Because it's $92,000. It's
Well-
not a small amount.
Well, it's in that 273,000 altogether.
No, it's not.
He
I don't
just said
think
it
you do.
wasn't.
The 273 is for teacher laptops,
Yeah.
middle high school projector screens, town hall computers, and server replacement.
It's not in
There's
there.
no copier lease money in there. So that'd be another 90K if the copier leases have to come out of there.
And is that even the right thing to do by taking it from capital? Because I thought the money that was feeding back to the capital was because we're closing out old capital items, not operating expense items. So I don't know if you could really feed it to the
The
operating?
whole IT budget's been confusing to me since I got
Yeah.
here. Like, the town hall didn't even have an IT budget for FY '22.
Mhm.
It was completely cut out because people thought that everything was on the school side. So we were scrambling in FY '22, then in FY '23, we put money in for copier paper and things like that. I have a Excel spreadsheet from Elaine that also would work out and tell us exactly what is on the town side right now. But for the first 2 years I was here, we were struggling to try to figure out IT.
Yeah, no, I understand. I'm just wondering, you know, if it's not in there, where's it going to come from?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah. The only thing I can say on that front is we probably want to double check with Ron because from my conversations with him, I believe he mentioned that he had set up a shared account for that expense
Okay.
because he felt like it shouldn't be in capital going forward. But I can't speak to that specifically because I don't usually see those bills
Okay.
or whatnot.
Yeah, I just don't know what budget that would have been approved in, because it wasn't in our budget, and I don't remember seeing it in any other budget. Like, I feel like I would have recalled that during the joint.
And is the number, not to read, is it 92,000 a year or 92,000 for 3 years or $30,000?
Per year, yes.
$92,000.
Yes.
Okay.
Very expensive
So,
machines.
Our thought process is there's nothing in any budget for fiscal 2024.
Do you have Ron's number?
I do, yes. I'm looking through my files here too and just double checking to see if there's.
Maybe we can just give him a quick call. I texted Scott. I don't have Ron's number, but
I'm just thinking if it's $92,000 a year, we're halfway through fiscal year '23. So I don't think you need to spend all of that. I'm sure you've already spent some out of this capital account.
yeah, so if there's 111 left, like you said, if there's like another 45,
It's probably only, exactly.
you're probably gonna have close to like 80 left. Might be fully covered, but I don't know what else is, if that's the only thing that they're spending out of that line item right now. Because it's already gone down from 127 to 111 since the beginning of March.
And so did you say on the shared cost, I don't have the sheet with me, our shared cost caption, there's something in there for this line item or no?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a couple other items too that come out of that account, like the Barracuda lease that typically comes up towards the end of the year, certain Microsoft items, Meraki. So there's a few other items that should be coming out of that account before the end of the year.
That makes sense.
Sue, could you print out not just the detail like you did for us on the project manager account? The spend on this, just 2 years worth? I just want to see what goes through it.
Do you want me to do that right now?
No.
Okay.
You know what? I think it is coming out monthly because the difference from when you gave us, I didn't date this, but do you remember this one?
Yeah,
Would you say it was like 2 months ago, maybe?
a month ago, yeah.
A month ago. So I think the leases cost about $7,700 a month. And the amount that's come out in, from today to when we got this file is 15,660, which is about, say, 2 months worth of leases. So we probably are deducting a lease every month.
What I have on here is in
So they would have
items.
more left because they only spent the full 92.
Out of here because they have not a share.
There's only 3 months left.
So did you set these up with you? Anything was in
They don't need
gray.
92,000, they need 22,000.
I used to think that there is some sort of other accounts to pay for
Or,
that.
well, 90 is what fiscal 24 would be.
This is like the school. Actually, I don't know if I can because it's in a shared folder. But
Hmm.
okay. I guess that would be a question for
For
Ron.
92 of these
but
weeks, they're delicious.
That's where I was getting that information from. I knew I remembered that correctly. Yeah, I did just double check my file, and the information that I have shows that, according to the document that I received from Ron, that information was pulled out of capital and it was put into a shared account.
Okay.
So that's the information that I have. More specific, we'd have to speak with
And
him.
that's for fiscal 24. And we just want to make sure you guys have the money to
Yeah.
pay for it.
Yep.
And somebody's budget isn't all of a sudden 90K short.
Oh yeah, for sure. That makes
That would
sense.
suck.
Yep.
Yes.
All right, well then I guess it sounds like the 273 is good. And under our current plan, as long as everything
Well,
closes out, right?
The only thing I'm questioning now is so the townwide tech upgrades from prior years that we said has a balance of 111,684. I don't think you need 92,000 out of that account.
For the copiers.
Yeah, I think you need like 25, 30,000.
Yeah, 90 is the annual, I believe. And
Okay.
so what Ron was saying is that the total cost per year for the copier lease is around 92,000. So what was previously appropriated was 90. And so it's running up to about 92 because there were additional machines added for different departments. Regarding some of these other items here, he had listed out like Barracuda, E-rate items. Some of the bills for E-rate haven't come through completely just because we've had major issues procuring items. Certain projects that we've tried to start, we start E-rate process typically in November, and some of it still hasn't been done. If you guys have been by the elementary school, you might have seen folks working in the parking lot last week. They're still working on projects here for infrastructure. So a lot of our bills may not have been closed out yet. So that might be part of it. Meraki licensing, Cogent costs come out of this account monthly as well, which I believe is about $2,000 a month or so. But
And what is that one?
Cogent is the fiber internet service
Okay,
used by the town hall and the school.
okay.
And again, these seem like different operating expenses.
Yeah.
So, not to reiterate again, I'm just not getting it. Fiscal 23, a couple months left
Yep.
to finish it. This 92, I thought we were saying it's not in the fiscal 24 budget either on the town side or on the school side. Are we not saying that?
The information that I have, which is a capital document that Ron and I created, shows that it was pulled out of the capital plan and put into a shared expense account. But any further information on where that is in the budget, I don't have that, unfortunately. We'd have to talk to
I
Ron.
appreciate, but I guess we just don't know if it's recorded as an expense somewhere in 24.
It should be. I would understand that it is, but obviously I think we should double check that with Ron. I wouldn't have any reason to believe that it was missed, but I don't typically get involved with the copiers.
Do you know what department it would go in? I do have my budget, operating budget.
I have what was sent to me by the town administrator's office, and there's a amount for, it says 56, but we took 18 out for Zoom, so it should be about $46,000 under IT, and then we have $11,000 for, just in case we need a monitor or something like that. So I don't have it under the general fund budget. It would have to be, if it's anything, it's in the the school budget, or it's above the line. I don't remember putting a $92,000 item above the line.
11,000 for a monitor. We put
Well, no,
in.
just in case something breaks and we have to replace a $200 monitor or something like that.
Okay. I'm just gonna look fast, see if I see anything that pops. So you don't think the 92,000 is an operating? That's what you're saying?
If Jen's saying it's not in their side, it's not on our side either.
I mean, I searched through his notes to look, to see, and I didn't see, I saw like toner for the copiers and service for the copiers, but nothing for the leases.
We don't get a detailed budget for the school side, they just give us,
I just have the town side.
yeah.
I have the detailed budget for the schools, that's what I'm looking at.
I texted Ron, but I remember he told me he was on dad duty tonight, so I'm not sure. We'll see if he responds, but if not, obviously I'll follow up with him.
So I guess a separate question would be on the $273,000.
Yep.
Will that all be spent in fiscal '24?
That, yes. These are all just, quick upgrades. So the computers, touch TVs, town hall computers as well, servers, I think that money will be quickly spent, yeah. And what we're trying to move away from is this method of having like lease payments and things like that out of these capital accounts. I don't think this is something that Ron, Sue, or I ever felt was something we wanted to do. It's just the direction that we were provided years ago, and it's just kind of how it was set up.
We have DW copier
Yeah.
for 28,000.
So I'm hearing is we may have a significant balance left over. You talked about the other expenses that are going to be coming up in the next 3 months, but there should be a balance sitting there for as of the end of fiscal '23.
Yeah, we shouldn't have a significant balance in that account at all that I'm aware of. Nothing that we plan for. If anything, it should be a small amount. And if there is a balance, my guess is it's a small amount that is carried over from years before, from when there was a fund established for things like the fiber repairs and whatnot. That was something that the previous town administrator had established years ago.
Sure.
But,
So next year, when we're looking at the 25 budget,
yep.
do you think we're going to be able to go back to this old line item and say, okay, the balance is going to be closed at that point?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah. And I think that what we were talking about is separating these into different accounts as well. So this account we wanted to close out
Okay.
and just have this one removed because it's listed as a 2018 account.
Yeah.
And then creating separate accounts for each of these requests. So there's 4 items in here. So that would be 4 accounts. And that would be that. And then close them out at the end of the year.
Sue, are there any other of these old ATM accounts that do the same thing? There are.
Yeah.
There are more that roll, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, just say it's more
They
like
usually roll,
revolving.
in the past, they've rolled the balances forward.
Which other ones are we rolling balances for?
The energy efficient projects, but Dave said that he was going to release the 2 because he was asking for one this
Okay.
year, and he didn't realize that they were still there. And it's not the departments that were requesting it, it was just automatically done by the previous town accountant, that they would just roll balances of any of the articles forward, where technically you're supposed to, if you bought the truck, you shouldn't keep the money to put a tire on the truck if you get a flat tire.
Yeah.
So these things should have been closed out years ago,
Okay.
but they've always been carried forward.
Yeah, I guess my question though is, like on this list, yeah, I see one as a separate energy efficiency for 100,000, and then another one, energy efficiency for 114,000. So it's not like it was one account rolling forward. This looks like it was set up in two separate line items.
They set it up by fiscal year that it's voted in,
Okay.
and some of them are not. Some of them just, like the 18 account for IT just kept going forward and adding the new money to it.
But we can make a decision as, we shouldn't do that. We're gonna-
Right.
Yeah, okay.
So one other question, because it just kind of popped out to me, that looks like there's another townwide capital maintenance. That doesn't have anything to do with IT, does it?
No.
No, okay. Is that fund doing the same thing?
The one that says townwide capital maintenance contracts or capital maintenance?
The one I just have says capital maintenance with a balance of 40,123.
Yeah, so that one keeps getting rolled forward and with new money added to it, but this year I put it in O&M budget, so if they don't spend it in the line item, it's gonna get closed out, and then we're gonna replenish it the following year.
Okay,
And that's the way it should be done.
sure, okay. So we had said keep that,
Yeah, 'cause it wasn't highlighted.
so we're keeping that $40,000 balance. We're not gonna close that one out.
Dave asked that we did keep it, yes.
Sorry, which balance are we keeping the 40,000?
It was on the second page, but it was 40,123.39. It was for townwide capital maintenance from 2018.
Okay. Yeah, I see it.
Do you guys have any other questions for Steve?
Nope.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
This
no
was
problem.
very helpful.
Of course, yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah, we appreciate it. And I'm sorry we started a little late tonight.
Oh, that's all right, no worries.
Thanks. And maybe we'll reach out to Ron if we need to about the leases, the copy machine leases.
Yeah, I'll follow up with Ron tomorrow too, if
Okay.
I don't hear back from him tonight, just to double check, but I would anticipate that it should be there. You know, everything I have shows me that it is, but
You
we'll
know,
double check.
we have to find it.
Yeah,
Make sure.
should be. We'll double check everything.
Okay.
All
Well,
right.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. Have a good night.
You too.
Thanks, Steve.
Would you like this back?
Oh, yeah.
I have it tucked away somewhere, I don't know where.
I don't know.
Old school kid who owns the money. Money.
Yeah, but it could be in the town. So do you guys think that? No, he's not coming in. No, he did send me a message and, let me tell you, I can't remember off the top of my head why he couldn't come in. He's getting his taxes done at 5. He can't make it. I know it was something.
You got 24.50.
It doesn't know it's budget season.
I know. So, but he did send us a list. Did everybody get that email that I sent out from Dave?
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys want to, do you want to do anything else with these articles, or do you want to move on to the bonding information?
When you say it, the other ATM articles, no, I think we'll go
Okay.
with those.
Go with those.
My 2 cents.
Okay. Sue, do you mind if we go through the bonding? Okay. Oh, sheets, yeah, let me just get that out. Okay, so Sue left us all a sheet that looks like this. Did everybody get that? Is this the one you want to go through? Okay. I did almost the same thing, just so you know, in a very similar sheet. Okay, so it looks like on the sheet, the first one we have is the library mechanical, that in my mind was already approved for FY23.
Correct.
Is that okay with everybody? So we do not need to take a vote on this one.
The only thing is, it came in at like $50,000 more.
Yes, okay.
So we already had the funding, so if we would,
50,000 and if there's any change orders.
yeah.
Okay,
So that's why if you see where I said the return to capital would be only 700, just in case it comes in, we have any change orders on it.
yes, I
And they've
understand.
already started talking, making payments out of that 960, but when the borrowing comes in, we're gonna replace that money,
Okay.
of that money, and then go forward with the full borrowing.
All right, does that sound reasonable to everybody?
Mm-hmm.
So even though we had come up with our scenarios the other night, which I believe, which one had it? So it would affect our closeout articles if the bond passed for the 2,000,001, because instead of doing the 9, I forget how much it was, like 911 was, I think, in the balance at that night. It would only be 700,000 that we'd be turning back in.
I guess, where's the 2,000,001 coming from?
Oh, I'm sorry. The sheet that Jen had nicely put together for us the other night, I printed it for everybody. So if we go to the first column, do you guys want a copy of this? Hold on a sec. Sorry.
I think the 2.1 was the capital items that we're closing out and transferring back in. John?
Yes, all the closeout articles. But that night, when we said we were closing out articles, I believe we had put in there 911,000 because we knew about 50,000 had already been spent out of that 960.
Okay.
So we were going to close out, I think it was, I'm pretty sure we used 911. I'd have to go to the spreadsheet.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to right now.
So that would change that number from 2,000,001 down to like 1,000,009. I just want to make sure we're all aware of that. Jen's just checking the number.
Yeah, but the 1,000,009 has the.
Yeah, we had
The
9.
231 still sitting there, right, that comes out. So isn't the second column over from the one we're looking at, the 1,761,755?
The 1,761,755 is the total request
Total
above.
ask, yep.
Right, so we were saying that we were gonna have income coming in from closeout articles of 2.1 million, but that 2.1 million includes 911 that was still available from the 960 for the library.
Yep, that's now you reduce that.
And now
Yeah.
she's saying it's gonna be 700.
Yep.
So there was a delta here anyway,
There was,
and the
yeah.
delta was gonna be what was gonna go into capitalization,
Stabilization.
Capital stabilization, yes, sorry, that was like saying that wrong. So we could just net
Yeah, it would, exactly.
the difference.
That's going to be
there.
there.
Because that's only a temporary difference anyway, right, Sue? That 260 will eventually come back? Yeah. So,
Yeah.
net it with our delta.
Okay, so then we have the next two projects for the library. So we have the roof for 850,000. The library painting, we have 300,000, right? So when I had looked at those. Let me just see. Library. So you had went out to the bond council from, is it Hilltop?
Mhm.
And you had said the total library would be $1,000,005. If we added those library projects together, it's $1,001,150. So it looks like we're covered there, right? Does everyone understand what I'm doing? So if I look at on this spreadsheet just the two projects for the library, because I'm trying to match them up to this Hilltop
Mhm.
bonding sheet.
Oh, so you're taking out the 1.8, okay.
Yeah,
You're not
the
including
1.8's from FY23.
We've already borrowed the full 1.8.
Exactly.
Okay.
We haven't gone out and borrowed it yet, but we've already had that approved
Right,
at
we've
town
already-
meeting.
We've already been authorized to borrow it, right, okay.
So if we just do the library and match it up to the Hilltop securities file, these two numbers total $1,150,000.
Yes.
This sheet says we want to borrow $1,005,000, so we're covered here because we have a little variance of about
Yep.
250,000.
Yep. I'm with you
Right.
now.
Or 350. If we go to the next part of this, which is the town hall siding, that's where we have, let's see. This, I had said the total
like
project was
1.2.
750.
Yeah.
Is that right, Sue, or is it 650?
They brought it down to 650. The bids came in last week, yeah.
Oh, okay,
That
that's
never happens.
I know.
I know, that's why I'm like, this doesn't match up.
up.
Okay, so if that comes down to 650, then we have 550 for the roof
Mhm.
on town hall,
So that's 1.2,
and then 50,000 for the engineering cost.
125.
Yep, so 125.
And what did we have in the bond sheet?
So the borrowing sheet, we did 900,000.
So we'd be short.
Yeah, but I think these sheets, correct me if I'm wrong, these sheets that you threw out there are gonna change.
That's
right?
correct. They're
Yes.
just
Okay.
estimates,
So we
just to
don't-
give
we
you
don't
a
need
good
them.
You don't
idea
need
of
it.
what the
Okay.
borrowing was gonna cost and
So
what the
we'll
repayment.
reborrow,
Okay,
The current schedule shows that, we all agree the 1.8's gonna get borrowed, it's already been bonded.
Mhm.
In scenario number 1, we're gonna borrow another 2.5 million. So that would make it a 4.3 borrow. On scenario number 2, we're only gonna borrow another 1.685. That makes it a 3.485 borrow. And the difference being the 750 and the 65. Essentially, if we go with scenario number 2, we'll borrow $815,000 less.
yeah.
so we won't be rolling in the siding.
Right, because the siding was already voted for, so it won't go back into capital, but at least it's already there and available to spend.
Right.
So you can roll it into a debt schedule, but then you're gonna pay interest on it. But since it's already come in and it's come in lower than what we voted in the last 2 meetings, it might be a good idea not to put that part into borrowing.
Right, so that
Yes.
that means instead of 750 coming back, we don't leave 100,000, so we're gonna take 650 out of
Yeah.
our schedule.
So Jed's plugging this in to see, because remember this, all of these numbers as they're changing, are gonna change our 3 scenarios that we came up with.
So that would become 1.45.
The closeout articles.
Okay, still have that spreadsheet.
And the same goes with scenario 1 for the library painting. We have 65,000 set aside. Do we go out and borrow the full 300,000, or do we reduce it to the 235 and use the existing authorization of the 65, which doesn't get returned to the capital, but again, you're not paying interest on another 65,000.
Exactly. Would it be easier if you connected to the monitor?
No, it's fine. I mean, I can.
No, you don't.
I'm just I just open this in Google Sheets. So I'm gonna take 650 out for the library. And then,
The 65,000.
the 65,000.
And did you reduce the 911 to 700?
Okay, so doing that, then if the bonding passes, we would still have a delta surplus of 425K and still be able to approve the capital request of 1.7.
Yeah, that's right.
You came up with that same, okay.
We get a little more on scenario number 1, Bob.
Yeah.
It might be wise to not take out too much debt though, head
Agreed.
debts. 425 is still a good amount to be putting into cap stabilization for next year.
I think so too. What do you guys think?
Well, I took a look at, if we leave say 425 in there, I looked at the 10-year capital for fiscal 25, and I took out town roof and everything else, and that, if that all got approved, it's like $1.5 million. So by throwing 425 into next year, it lowers the bar to about $1 million we need to, so we could be okay for 24 and 25, as long
Yeah,
as it's
we
not a
usually,
huge
we
amount
had
of
$1 million
capital.
coming in this year, so it's reasonable to think that there could be a similar amount next year, hopefully.
We were talking the last time we met Bob about next year,
Mhm.
you know, and nothing to discuss, to figure out tonight, but what do we want to do next year? Do we want to do it like we did this year, where it's just the free cash portion that's flowed over to capital, or are we going to go back to the process we did prior years, where we put of the pilots program, the third. It was just something to start thinking about before we get into FY25. Yeah, no, we're gonna get through 24,
No, again.
but it is something like,
Yeah,
maybe in 2 months from
never
now.
happened.
Yeah, it's never
It was
happened.
not, in theory, it sounded good, a
Okay.
third of the soul,
Yeah,
didn't happen. This year is the first time we're actually putting a third in the high school
Andre,
future purchase.
okay.
So,
the money just got eaten up, right?
yeah,
Can we just go over that,
and that's how they fund the budgets, over that time, so.
I might have it in mind. Can we just go over that number again? We all agree 176, 755 was the list of everything that's approved.
Yep.
On scenario number 2, I've got money that we can use to spend for that 1.7 was 997, 996, which was the original number we're getting from the town.
Yep.
Maybe this was 450, 4033, I'm still showing as the closeout, and 700 for the remaining balance of the roof. Then I'm getting 390, 274 as extra money going into next year. It's just a little bit off, so maybe I'm missing something.
So did you only take out, so was that the 65,000? Is that the difference?
I don't have that included in because it's being used in scenario 2 to pay for debt,
Okay.
pay for capital. But regardless, it's around $400,000, so.
Yeah.
Do you have the same number?
I don't know.
Okay.
I,
Let's just update it in case we take a vote tonight. Let's just update this.
I wish I still
the
had the
spreadsheet.
spreadsheets that I worked on the last time.
Oh, I have them. Hold on. Let me send it back to you.
Well, I looked in my sent. I have the one, but I don't have the, I only have the scenarios. I didn't have the capital projects that I had messed around with, that's all. Because I'm trying to figure out, I didn't have my link, so I don't know if the 65 is there or not. I had 1660893 as the town projects coming back in, and off that I backed off 650, 65,000, and then 211. So I'm just gonna go back to that other spreadsheet on the article balances and see.
Just found it tonight before I left. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, the 65 was to paint the library. You guys were saying to take that off, or was the 60?
But that was never in the 454, right? I don't think it was.
No, that was never in the 454.
Yeah.
The 454 was all
Yep.
non-library and non-town hall items.
So if we decided scenario number 2.
Okay, so I never had the 65 in, so the 1661 didn't include the 65. So I backed that off twice, so that's why we're not matching.
I feel like we did it.
Okay, so the 1.2, is that what you have, John, 1.25?
On scenario number 1, I got left over 1,205,000. On scenario number 2, I got 390,274.
Left over, like our delta?
Yeah. I'm just going with, if we agree that 1761 is the total spend, we know we're getting $1 million back.
Yeah.
We get the 454 that hasn't changed, and the 700,000 coming off of this schedule.
Oh, okay.
So
So,
if we just have those three numbers, we get like 2 million and one
Sorry, guys.
of available cash. For
all
debt
right,
to
so
be
I
paid.
have 799, so that's where we're off like 100,
Okay.
right? Yeah, we're off 100.
Okay.
So what's that 100?
Right, you sent it on March 9th. I'm trying to find it.
Oh,
If you
the 100,000 is the difference for the siding. The siding came in 100,000 less.
Ah,
That's it.
So there's 100K. Because it's not 750, the siding now it's only 650, so there's 100K back into capital. I was like, how are we off 1,000? These numbers are the same. I feel better now.
So can you just quickly, just if we go to our spreadsheet again, what is
Yes.
the delta now on the first one, approved if bond passes?
Approved if bond passes, assuming we're going with scenario 2, we would have a delta of 490K.
490, can you give me the whole number?
49166 is what I have.
66, 49,
490166.
okay. If we go to 2, which is approved if bond fails,
Yep, and that never changed. That would still be the same 93K.
okay,
Although, well, actually, I think that would be a little bit more because we'd still have 100,000 coming in from town hall siding.
okay.
So
Okay,
actually, that would go up
192.
to 192,228.
Okay, and then scenario 3 is approved if bond fail and the closeout articles fail.
We have a surplus of 196, and we're screwing Steve and his townwide tech budget of 273 because they'll have to cut 85K somewhere. They'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I really don't see that happening, though. I can't see town meeting not approving to close out old capital items and transfer. That wouldn't make any sense to not pass that.
Yeah, I think
Cap,
so.
money that was earmarked for capital to use it for current year capital, like I don't know why that wouldn't pass.
No, I think that's
The,
like
the bonding is the big question, because there could be people that just don't want us to take out more debt.
Mhm.
So that's and if the bonding fails, remember, we're going back to we're only approving capital across of, call it 1/4, that's a rounded number, because
Mhm.
we're taking a bunch of things off the school
Mhm.
side, the school's going back to their original concessions.
Okay. So, does everybody feel comfortable to take a vote tonight on if we go to the bonding scenario 1 or scenario 2?
I am.
Okay.
I am, but I just gotta, I don't know, maybe I'm just looking, I'm still looking at the capital list, the 1.7 that I never reviewed.
Mhm.
And I just said that, it's great we can do all this, and one of my questions gets into borrowing things that aren't quite needed yet. So, I guess, do we know that we're really gonna do the energy efficiency budget of $100,000? I mean, we're gonna do that because we tend not to, but do we know if we've got plans to do anything?
We
So
actually,
have-
oh,
okay.
we actually get a Green Communities grant, and that's our match on it.
We
But,
have to do that.
yeah, so
Okay.
over the past couple of years, it hasn't been spent, but it's been spent out of other accounts, like the solar net metering account. There's like 175,000 spent out of that in 2022 when I first got here.
Okay.
Okay.
And Dave said he was gonna use that for lights, and he said he needed it, like, 'cause we asked.
Yep,
You
we
would
did.
ask
I
them.
just hope it's not gonna be 100,000 not spent next year.
Right,
That's all I'm
right,
saying.
right.
And the repainting the $60,000 for the basketball court, we talked about that going to CPC, but they went to CPC and couldn't get it, so that's, I'm assuming that I haven't seen the courts, but it would make sense to keep them up to date.
Yeah.
Yep.
The cruisers, the 2 cruisers, that's on the replacement plan?
Mhm.
Have
Yeah,
we-
and
okay.
I think that's also keeping in mind the fact that he's bringing on new people too.
Yeah.
But one of them was the admin cruise and then 2 were the.
Got it. And then on the 71 passenger bus van and the EV infrastructure that has a pending grant.
Oh, that
So-
didn't pass. So we haven't found out about the EV grant yet, so I think that is a questionable item, but the 71 passenger bus, the pending grant would be, if we got the grant to get an electric bus, that would be partially funded, and then it'd be partially funded to install the chargers required. But if we don't get that funded, we still need to get a bus. So the 126 would cover the regular bus. There's no grant for that.
So this infrastructure, is that for the charging stations? Okay, so I got a grant to get all those for free, so I pay 0. So we're putting them at the town hall, both schools, and the library. So.
But would
so
that
we
cover
can
for a
take off
diesel
the-
bus though?
Well, it's a regular charging station.
I think the bus
Is it
needs a
separate
special
It
one
probably
because
is.
of the
Probably
size.
high.
And it would get put in at the bus depot, I believe.
But I'll check that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we
I
haven't,
would
could
keep
put
it
one
on
up there.
there, just. and then-
they haven't heard back on the
Whatever it is,
electric grant, so that would just be money earmarked in case we get it. I don't think they're gonna know until into 24. They won't know.
My
until
only
the-
question also with the buses, and I don't want to see us get off schedule with the buses, but I believe Ron said that it's an 18-month back
Yeah.
order on buses. So is it reasonable to keep a bus in this budget where it's a year and a half
Yeah, I would
before?
suggest.
Well, that was why,
Not
he was
moving,
saying
yeah.
we could wait on it because it's
Yeah.
gonna take so long, but I think Alan and I were both thinking the same thing.
Yeah,
It's like,
Well,
if it's that far out, by the time 18 months rolls around, we might really need that bus. I mean, our oldest bus is,
Well,
I have it written down
we-
somewhere, it's fairly aged.
Well, they have money from FY23 that they haven't spent yet too, because that one's 18
Well, the
months
bus is
old.
ordered, it's ETA for deliveries November, December, so the
Okay.
final bills haven't come in yet. So it's been ordered,
Okay,
but you pay upon delivery, so.
But that
Okay.
also then says, if we buy this bus for 103, which we don't put any money down, we just, there's no deposit, nothing.
No.
okay.
So that being said, if it's 18 months,
Yeah, this
That-
money's gonna sit
that
there.
means we could do it, well, we could take if we took one off, we'd just move it into the balance that we're throwing into next year's earmarked for, capital. So it's just moving it off to next year.
Yeah, but they're not
Keep
gonna,
it
they're not
probably,
gonna
yeah.
order it if they don't have the
Yeah.
approved money to spend, though.
And hoping that, that next year.
Because then what if it doesn't get
approved?
approved next year and then that bill comes in? And he's thinking that 18 months is gonna get shorter. He's
Yeah, and that's
expecting
the
it to
thing,
come
You
down.
don't know, and if something comes up where somebody to pick up one or something.
Yeah, so they're not,
It's
if
available.
we don't
I
vote
think
the money,
that's-
they're not gonna order it. They're gonna wait to order it till the money's
Okay.
been earmarked.
And do we know when this 103 bus is gonna be on the road? The $103,000 bus that we had from last year's annual town meeting?
So that's December, right?
Ron said November, December is when it's slated to get delivered. As soon as we get it, it'll be on the road.
And then with the old buses,
I mean, we have a shortage of buses. We have a shortage of buses and we have a shortage of drivers. I mean, we have enough
do.
buses to cover our routes, but like, there's been no late bus because there's no driver vehicle.
Really?
Okay.
Not all sports get transportation because there's not enough drivers / buses like to be able to handle the weight, to handle the capacity. So
the one that they're looking to take off the road, do they trade that in for money? Like what happens to that one?
we have been able to liquidate. They've been able to sell.
And then does
buses.
that money come back into capital?
It goes to general fund.
I think it would
yeah.
go to the general fund
Why would it go to general if it was a capital item?
because it's
So
already
if
been
it's,
spent.
if it's a trade-in, then it comes off the price.
Yeah.
Obviously, you save it. But if it's you have to go to auction usually
Mhm.
with
Usually
those
they're
things, and the money that's recovered in auction just goes on the general.
Because that capital item, when it was purchased, I mean, that was
You don't
purchased
use the-
15, 20 years ago from capital, so.
Yeah, no, but I'm just wondering why wouldn't it come back into capital stabilization?
Could we
You could
request that?
transfer it,
Yeah.
that money
Okay.
into
Yeah.
stabilization.
I mean, is it fair to say that
Like
any money
gen-
that goes out of capital, if it ever, like, the grants are a perfect reason, if for some reason we authorize the $20,000 and the grant never happens, shouldn't that 20,000 come back into capital?
Yeah, you
should,
can, yeah. It
That,
takes
and
the
that
bullet.
would, that would be an item that would get closed out back to capital.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the same thing with, if we sell any equipment that was purchased with capital money, if it gets sold, it should come right back to capital, not even go to general fund.
Yeah,
just
or
don't-
go to the stabilization
Yeah.
account.
I mean, some stuff like that may not even get tracked, like computers and things that get transferred between departments or whatever, but for a large item like a bus, that's certainly trackable.
Yeah, no, I'm just thinking
Mhm.
if we sell a bus or a car or something, not a computer.
And I don't even know if that oldest bus that we would sell it might, if it's still drivable, it may go into like backup
Mhm.
inventory to be used for late bus and field trips,
Okay.
things like that. Like, I don't know what
Mm.
their plan will be for that oldest bus, but, yeah, I know we don't have much excess for buses. Like, there have been times we've had a bus break down and another bus has had to do a double run because there's not an extra bus, so.
My kids have been on some of the double run buses, so I know.
Sometimes it's due to driver shortage, sometimes it's due to bus issues.
So now that I'm just hopping on, just spending, the 92,000 that we've got for the Pond Street Phase 1 design,
Yep.
we're gonna spend that in fiscal '24? It's not gonna be, something.
That's
that's
the
just
plan,
hanging-
yes. They have, Ron's been working to, organize the people to come out and do the schematics. And he'd go back and confirm with Rec that they had never done it, and he sent us that email. Because there was a question, Alan had thought it might have been done already.
Yeah, I don't think the recreation department has a budget that would be able to spend 92,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Alright,
so I think
guys, so-
what's here, at least on the school side, will definitely get spent. The only thing that might not get spent is the 20K. Because that one truly is pending grant. A bus is gonna get purchased regardless. It's just which kind of bus do we end up ordering? And that's dependent on if we get the grant.
Okay, and when will they know if they get the grant?
I think they said fall. I'm not sure.
Okay.
So it'll be in fiscal '24 that we'll find out. So that's why we have to set the money aside. If
Okay.
we got, I believe if we get the grant for the electric bus, we wouldn't end up spending the whole 26, so money would end up coming back to capital, because that would be partially funded by the grant.
Okay.
But I don't know
Thank you,
the
that's good to
specific
know.
dollar amounts on it. But, so they're earmarking the full amount of a bus, just because they don't know which kind they're gonna be ordering. But I think they're supposed to find out either end of summer or fall.
Okay.
I'm torn. part of me thinks it'd be really cool to have an electric bus, and part of me's like,
But just, how much more does it cost to repair an electric bus?
Or like, I don't know, does it have like get up and go, you're gonna be like stuck behind it, like on 58, like after every stop?
I don't
I don't
know.
know.
Oh, I think they're out there. Like
Yeah.
the buses
For
now
school
being
buses?
used.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool. New wave. Anyway, we digress.
Okay. So the first thing I think we would need to do is take a vote internally on scenario 1 or scenario 2 for bonding. Do we need to vote on that, or do we just need to choose which one?
You vote on it.
You vote on it,
Make a
okay.
motion to approve scenario 2 for
I'll second
funding
that.
2024 capital requests.
Okay, motion made, second? Oh, Jen seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Sorry, I should have asked, did anyone have any questions?
No.
No, okay. All right, perfect. So that's going to be scenario 2, and we voted that 4-0. So that's going to bring us now over to the capital budget. So Jen, you have the well, I think I wrote them down.
Yeah, so I'll make a motion to approve a capital budget of expenditures of $1,761,755, which will be funded by town and closeout articles of $1,253,925, leaving a delta of $490,166, which will go into capital stabilization.
Second.
Okay. Okay, let me open that for discussion, or, okay. We have a motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, so that was for scenario A. So now scenario B.
I'll make a motion to approve capital expenditures of $1,359,800 with funding sources from town target funds and closeout articles of $554,032, leaving a delta of $192,228, which will go into capital stabilization.
Do we have anyone to second?
Second.
Okay, motion made and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and scenario C.
I'll make a motion to approve capital expenditures of $997,800, with the only funding source being the target funds available from the town of $997,996, leaving a delta of $196, which would go into capital stabilization.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, guys. I know this was a lot of work to get to those 2 votes tonight.
It is.
It was a lot of work this year.
A lot of numbers.
So I think I did skip over on the agenda if we had any updates
Updates.
from you guys.
So Bob, any updates?
How many updates? I do not.
Okay.
Really nothing other
No.
than thank you for getting this done.
Oh, no,
I
thank
know
you
guys
guys.
put a lot of work and a lot of time into it.
Yeah, and I know you guys put a ton of work, and it's been evolving and evolving every day and then every hour.
And I'm new to the whole townwide budget thing. I've obviously been involved in the school budget for the last 3 years, being on school committee, but seeing the whole town side was new for me this year. And I have to say, I really appreciate a lot of the changes that you guys are making. Sue, I like all the changes you're recommending of like keeping accounts cleaner and doing new accounts and like just the changing the process. So just,
Thank you.
I guess, good job.
And at times it's a bumpy road. But I think going forward, now we have a year under our belt here. So I think next year, hopefully it'll be a little smoother as we go through this whole process again, not just with capital, but the whole budget. So,
Yeah.
but thank you everybody for doing the yeoman's work of this committee.
Yeah, I will be rolling off of school committee next month because I am not running for reelection.
Oh, it's too bad.
Yeah, I need a break, but I will probably be putting in for a seat on capital outlay as a, what is it called, a general townwide member or whatever. A Mr. Fennessy appointment. So, because I really enjoyed this process, so I wouldn't mind doing this again
Yeah.
next year.
Great.
That'd be great. Okay, any member comments? So,
And
town
just-
meeting,
Just for your comfort, we do have wording from town council on the different scenarios.
oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Excellent.
That is,
So then we can
Great
just
news.
plug in the
Yes.
Who's
items.
going to explain that town meeting?
You are, John. You sat on both, so you can do it.
yeah. Let me know, because if I need to, I need to really make some good notes first.
Practice.
Be like,
I'm not,
"No."
I'm not afraid to speak at town meeting in case anyone remembers me last year.
No, we'll be good, because I think we've really laid this out in 3 different great scenarios, and I think the bonding is definitely the way to go this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty clear. If we get to version C, I'll be very surprised and slightly disappointed in our town.
Yeah. So the only thing we have still outstanding as a committee is meeting minutes, which I need to get some of them from Ashley and wrap some of them out again. Do you guys want to meet again just for a minutes? Do you want to wait till after town meeting? It's up to you guys, but that's all. Do you want to have another meeting before town meeting, or are you okay to just meet that night?
Just a town meeting night,
Well, we have town meeting, I believe it's
We can
April
always meet like
11th.
an hour before
April
town meeting.
11th.
and just-
Well, finance committee is also an hour before that meeting.
Oh, that's right.
I'm going to be getting to town meeting very close. I forget what.
I don't know, you want to do it Thursday before town meeting? I don't care. It's only like an hour meeting. It won't
Okay,
be long.
yeah, we only need an hour. Let me get the exact date of that.
Yeah, I could do Thursday, April 6th at like 6:30.
Okay, is that good for everybody?
I think so.
What date?
April 6th is the Thursday before town meeting.
Yep, I'm good.
Okay, 6:30, okay?
Scott just texted me about the copy leases. He said they moved it into the shared IT line that's above the line.
I'll have to look at that.
So we'll have to see how much is in there.
Mhm.
We'll have to see how much was in there. I don't know if I put that amount.
Beth, what time will we be meeting?
Is 6:30 okay?
Yeah, okay.
Or do you guys want to do 7? It's up to you guys.
All right, we done?
I have a policy subcommittee meeting 4:30 to 6:30, so that's why I can do 6:30, but I don't, sometimes policy ends early, but sometimes it doesn't, so
Do you want to do 7 to be safe? If it's
no, it should, we're usually always done by 6:30, but.
Okay.
And it's just, this would be kind of
I
fun.
can't do 7, so 6:30 would be the latest.
Yeah, we can do 6:30.
Okay, perfect, 6:30.
You guys all set?
Yes, thank you guys so
Thank you
much.
guys
See
so
you-
much.
See you later. See you at town meeting, I guess.
See you at town meeting.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bells on. Who's bringing the candy this year? That's the important question.
Usually, it's funny, usually
Yeah.
Cornwall does.
He did
does?
bring some. I brought some
And-
chocolate
Me
second
and
night
KP,
last meeting.
I brought
me and
my
KP
own.
in Plainville, and same thing, we brought a bag of candy in for the, I think it's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
You know?
had multiple bags last year. There
We
was
did.
plentiful amounts of chocolate, which was
Yeah.
excellent.
We did have a lot last year.
Do you think we're gonna go 2 nights?
I don't know.
Hopefully, just 2 nights.
Was it 3 last year?
Yeah.
Don't even-
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was.
we did have a 3rd night last year. That was
Well, that's
horrible.
because somebody on the second night, I'll call a quorum.
Oh my gosh, I was so
Alan,
mad.
Would you shut up? Sorry, I'm just kidding, Alan.
Is this thing on?
All right, I'll see you.
Okay,
See you
so,
later.
bye, Bob. All right, so our next meeting will be April 6th at 6:30, and we'll do all of our meeting minutes that night,
Perfect.
as well as prep for town meeting.
Perfect.
And I don't know, The seating arrangements, we'll probably find out that night. You know, because I'm assuming John will be up with the select board, you might be with the school committee. Somewhere you can sit with me in the finance committee if that's the case.
Sure, and dive under the table.
You'll
We'll
be-
try to do last year.
You'll be great. Okay, if nothing else, I could take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, motion made and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you guys. Have a great night.